like league leaders.
So tell them what you just told me. Tell them.
Are we gonna do the intro? Or we just went straight into it.
No, we trying to figure out what we're gonna talk about.
Okay.
Tell them what you just. You didn't hear about it?
I heard everything he said. That's why I'm laughing. But if we record, I guess I gotta speak on it.
But why is this any different?
Okay, let me know when we record.
How are they rating these players though? Is my question.
And Madden changes the rankings throughout the year. So like if you play the game, and let's say like Cooper Kupp wouldn't have been rated where he was rated.
Yeah. Where
he ultimately finished. But throughout the year, as he got better, Madden gives you downloads that will change the ratings of every player.
No, but this is not helpful for me then. This is not helpful for me as far as a projection standpoint or projecting which players are good. Except they got Tyler Boyd over it. Jamar Chase. And,
maybe you should. Maybe you should revisit.
Hey, maybe I should. Maybe I should.
Maybe I don't know.
I won't, but maybe I should.
We're spending most our lives as an absolute paradise. And baby, we got love. Why can't we keep it safe enough? It's not so easy. Gonna keep us busy.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, right now, AB is in a main draft.
Yeah,
he
man.
is on the clock right now.
I'm on the clock.
Main event
draft.
I'm on the clock.
With FFPC. Guys, before we kind of talk about who's on the board and who he should be drafting, please right now, smash that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Like, rate, subscribe this episode. Trust me, it helps us out. All right, so who's available right now? You're the number one pick in the draft.
Had the number one pick.
You took C-Mac.
I did take C-Mac. That's a discussion, like, because...
you want to speak on that, or we're going to go to the pick first?
We should speak on it, because I think it's a terrible pick, but go ahead.
Why is it a terrible pick?
Because how many times does C-Mac have to burn you before, like, you say, you know what? I'm going to take somebody
But the funny thing is, I feel like, we all have such short memories, I really do. I feel like before Eckler broke out last year, he had the injury issue, or he had the issue of constantly being hurt, constantly missing games, and the fear that he could not make it through an entire season. And I think he did miss about a game or two last year, but overall produced at, as a top 4, top 5 overall back. The thing with running backs in my mind is I don't expect any of them to play all 16, 17 games. Like, I really don't. Not even Jonathan Taylor. And I understand how sturdy he's been. But you are... you were a beast and a bell cow until you're not. You were, healthy and a workhorse until you were not. So that was C-Mac at one point. C-Mac was someone who was, getting 20-plus touches a game at times, producing at, crazy NFL numbers, all-time numbers, and then just had a run of injuries. But the thing about his injuries to me, yeah, some of them have been soft tissue and may creep around, but none of them have been anything like an Achilles, an ACL, broken bones, things like that. And really, over the last 2 years, he's seen limited touches. So when I was, trying to decide between Jonathan Taylor and C-Mac, it came down to a couple different things. One, it's a PPR format, okay? So right off the bat, understanding that Jonathan Taylor has to somewhat share that backfield with Nyheim Hines, a prolific pass-catching back, and they've already talked him up this year. For me, that was a little bit of a pause, because it's not so much can Jonathan Taylor finish number one. He can. He finished number one last year, right? But that number one is not something that I covet. That's not something, years past when C-Mac was the overall consensus number one, when you had that number one pick, you had a significant advantage. When LaDainian Tomlinson was that number one overall pick, when you had the number one pick, you had a significant advantage. So that's how I see it. Like, when I'm looking at the two, I'm thinking to myself, who has the most likelihood to absolutely smash? This is not a home league. This is not me just trying to beat 12 other guys. This is me trying to beat 1,000 other players. So really, I'm going to go for the guy who has the most upside, and I will risk it.
When the trend is running back by committee, and we have a guy who has had serious injuries 2 years back to back, I see them bringing, what the NBA calls load management to Carolina Dio, like, do you think that he's really going to get
And I disagree
bell
with
cow-
that, but go ahead.
Bell cow back kind of, production? Like, do you see him actually getting those kind of carries?
I do. I mean, what you're saying right there, as far as that whole scenario you brought up, as far as load management and then probably not using him as much, it's really all just speculation on your part.
Yeah.
It's all speculation.
You really haven't seen any evidence showing that that's their plan. I mean, yeah, they brought in a backup running back, but every team has backup running backs. Foreman himself has come off a major injury, probably a worse injury than what C-Mac has ever come back from. And regardless, even if they manage his touches, every time C-Mac has been on the field, he's produced fantasy production.
Amazing.
Quite a bit, you know. I think points per game last year, I think he was in the 20s last year. Of course, injuries happen. I'm not one to kind of bet on injuries or try to avoid injuries because anybody can get injured. Somebody is healthy until they're not.
Nobody thought Dobbins was going down. Nobody thought Akers was going down. Anybody can go down.
So, I mean, but at the same time, yes, if you were to use, your, to some extent, common sense, as a coaching staff, you probably would look at the situation and say, okay, we've had C-Mac with this workload that he's had all these years. It kind of seems like it's kind of wearing down on him a little bit. Maybe not use him as much. But even if he's not used as much, I think 80%, 75%, even 60% C-Mac is still a very valuable fantasy player.
And this is the thing.
But it's a number one pick value.
Yes, this is the thing. I don't want him to get all the touches. Please, Dante Foreman, please come in and get some of these carries in between the 20s. These low value fantasy touches. Yes, come in and get this like short yardage, third and inches. Yes. C-Mac, you sit on the bench, let Dante Foreman take that impact, let him take those blows. Okay. Those, to me, are so low-level touches that I don't care. That's not what I'm worried about. The other thing about it, too, is like, I think Amir Abdullah leaving is actually huge for them because Chuba Hubbard was not someone who was all that great in the passing game, not someone who was all that great in pass protection. The other thing, too, is like you got to look at the current state of the Panthers, okay? They believe that they are a playoff team. That head coach, that GM are under fire. They're on the hot seat right now. They went out and traded for another quarterback because they're in win-now mode, right? Yeah. So, for me, like, you only get 17 games, okay, to try and make it into the playoffs, all right? And they play in a division with the Saints and with the Bucks. So they can't sit here and be cute and say, okay, we're going to limit C-Mac. We're going to, manage his workload, for the first half of the season. They can't play it that safe. Okay, they don't have the luxury of doing that. But the other thing too is there's also been reports about C-Mac. He's the typical stuff that you would hear. But he said he's kind of learning how to better manage his body. I think there was reports of him talking with Falk. There's reports of them like minimizing and managing his practice load as opposed to his in-game load. But really, when it comes down to it, who's catching the majority of the passes? Who's seeing the majority of the red zone goal line work? To me, that's all C-Mac. That's all C-Mac.
I mean, you can't tell me that a guy who has like a father who's a former NFL player doesn't know how to manage his body, and he's learning that from
his father didn't play running back.
But his father
didn't play running back.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Though. It does matter.
Like that's PR. I'm sorry.
That's
man,
that's like my dad being a lawyer. And I'm a physician, and my dad like trying to give me advice on being a physician. They're two different things.
So I think the real question here is the fact that Abby took C-Mac at number 1, and that's where your question. Because if Abby took C-Mac at number 4
or 2,
you wouldn't even be questioning, or even in 2, you probably wouldn't even question as much. And I think that then boils down to philosophy.
Yep.
Abby had the number 1 pick. All right, consensus thus far has been Jonathan Taylor be the number 1 pick. Now, we've all seen C-Mac be taken number 1, Jefferson being taken number 1, Kupp being taken number 1, here and there. Not often, but we've seen it, And it's not crazy to have seen it and it's like, oh my God, this person's insane. It's just they had a different variation, whether it be they're a mass gamer where they play a lot of games and they're like, okay, I've had JT before. Let me go with somebody else. Yeah. Or maybe they just don't believe in JT. Personally, when you have the number 1 pick, in my mind this year, I don't think it matters where you go. Like, and when I say that, I mean, I wouldn't even bat an eye if somebody took Jamar Chase at number 1, Diggs at number 1, Eckler at number 1. Henry at number 1, Cook at number 1,
Yeah.
CD Lamb at number 1. Because when you get that number 1 pick, I don't think anybody should feel boxed in and like, okay, because I have this pick, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
I really think when you have the number 1 pick, what you really should feel like is, okay, I can start to make my team however way I want to make my team, you know? And if you feel like, yeah, people value certain ways, but man, CD Lamb is the number 1 target for the Cowboys. He's probably going to get this big target share. He's talented. He's probably going to ascend. I believe in CD Lamb. I'm going to take CD Lamb number 1. I wouldn't even trip because not only you say I'm going to get my guy that, hashtag GYG, get your guy, but you're also then doing a kind of a unique build.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing CD Lamb taking number 1 off.
Yeah.
You're not seeing Derrick Henry taking number 1. Well, at the same time, a year ago during the season, we were seeing Derrick Henry dominate.
Yeah.
So when you have the number 1 pick, I mean, I really feel like it doesn't matter who you take because even if Jonathan Taylor is the number 1 running back next year, there's going to be a week where he's not the number 1 scorer at the running back position, right? Yeah. He might be the number 5, he might be the number 10, he might be the number 2. When it's all said and done and we're in the tournament, if he's not the one that takes you over that finish line, it's not going to matter anyways. So Abby took C-Mac. He believes in C-Mac. He believes in that ceiling. Great. Abby knows C-Mac is not going to be the number 1 scorer every single week, but for him, he's trying to give himself the best chance. And he views C-Mac being a better option for that than Jonathan
It ultimately
Taylor.
comes down to upside, okay? And y'all know I'm a risky player, so when it comes to like things like injuries, as long as I know he's not coming off of an ACL, an Achilles, I'm fine taking him and risking and rolling the dice with taking him number 1 overall.
So Chris, who would you take number 1 overall?
I'll probably take JT number 1 over.
Jonathan?
I mean, like it's chalk, but I like
Do
that
you see,
offensive
do you see
line.
it as a safe pick or do you see it as an upside pick?
I still see the upside because now they have Matt Ryan who will dump it off to running backs.
So you see it as
we
an upside
haven't
pick.
seen JT necessarily be that kind of back out of the backfield, but with Matt Ryan now as the quarterback, I still see some upside there with JT.
even with them paying Nyheim Hines and talking up about, the coach literally said draft Nyheim Hines this year. He literally said that. So, but and this is
But you can't feel well. I don't want to let it. All right. You talked about Aaron Jones, right?
Yeah.
You can't feel that way and still be high on certain running backs that you feel high on.
So Aaron
Jones, when
again, we're
when
talking about a
Dylan is
PPR.
there-
Again, we're talking about a PPR format. This is the difference. Who's going to see more receptions, Dylan or Aaron Jones?
Most likely
So
Aaron Jones.
so I'm choosing the receiving running back because those fantasy points are worth a lot more. Those fantasy touches are worth a lot more than just your typical carries. And Aaron Jones, no one talks about it, but Aaron Jones is lethal at the goal line, and it's for a couple of different
So is
reasons.
Dylan though. Well, do you
Not
think
not as good as Aaron Jones. He's not as good as Aaron Jones. So people view Aaron Jones as this big bully. And yes, I grant it. Yes, can he get in the goal line? Sure. But this is the thing about players like Aaron Jones and players like C-Mac, why they're so good at the goal line, is because they are good in between the tackles. They know how to get in the end zone, but then they also have the threat of leaking outside. And yes, Dylan can catch passes, but not as well as Aaron Jones. And so for me, that's why I'm so high on Aaron Jones. Okay.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
Because we got away from really the initial question.
that's what I was going to get us back to? Go ahead.
Now that we've established you took C-Mac with your first
Oh,
pick.
wait.
Yeah.
Last. This is the last thing that I'm gonna say. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. Let's not forget the likelihood of the overall wide receiver 1 from the previous year repeating is low. What's even lower is the overall RB1 repeating the following year. So we're going to play this game about probability of injuries, which we literally is just a random guess and roll of the dice. Like there's no statistics that you can really point towards that are going to provide that are going to actually be somewhat valid or statistically significant. But we can look at historical data and see that number 1 overall running back has a low likelihood of finishing number 1. And maybe sometimes that's just due to because he just got so many touches the year before that put him over the edge. But, there's variance there. So we can play that game both ways.
I'd be more concerned if this was the third year that JT was coming in as number 1.
Yeah. That's
Right,
fair,
because
fair
we've
enough.
seen Derrick Henry do it 2 years
Fair
ago.
enough.
All right. So you took C-Mac as
Yeah.
number 1 pick. You have 2 picks
I got 2 picks.
to make. Are you going to go running back or receiver? Do you want to go robust running back here? Because now, this is the time for you to really determine what your build is going to
Yeah.
be. as
This is the
Dyer
most
said.
essential time.
Yeah.
That first pick honestly didn't even matter.
Didn't even matter.
It's
Didn't
this
really
pick that's
matter.
really going to
It's this
determine
pick
what
that
type
matters.
of team he's going to have. So
Okay, so you're gonna put up the boards for the audience, the viewing audience to see.
make sure you don't show the names.
I'm not.
Yeah. So I mean, right now, MIQ. Again, I'm pick 212 and 3-1 back.
Well,
to
you
back.
can say who's. Oh, they can see it. I was going to say you can say who's taken. Okay,
He was taken. So if you just if you sort by ADP, players at the top of the board: Leonard Fournette, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Travis Etienne, Nick Chubb, Michael Pittman, AJ Brown, Alvin Kamara, Darren Waller, James Conner, DJ Moore, Mike Williams. So for me, I hate drafting number one. Like I literally hate it because I
it's
feel
the
like
worst pick this year.
there's
I really believe it's the worst
There
pick
is
this
a
year.
tier drop off, but news comes out, and this is that time of season where a player can drop a full round of ADP. Just based off of a random report from a month ago that people don't
Y'all need
realize.
to stop listening to all this fluff, man.
I mean,
Nothing
some of
it's
it,
nothing but fluff out right now.
So some of it, you want to react to. Some of it, you don't want to react to.
Don't
I think
react
each
to
one,
none of it.
Yeah, I think so. We differ
Don't
on
react
that.
to none of it.
We differ on that.
Just go to
But-
sleep, hibernate, and come back
Yeah.
on August 1st.
So,
I'm telling you.
a player like Leonard Fournette, I currently have 0 shares of. And it's not necessarily because I'm completely out on it. I can see all the bullish cases for Fournette. I think we think of him as this old back, but he really isn't all that old.
Fournette and C-Mac came in the same draft.
Yeah, so he really isn't all that old. So it's not like you're choosing this back that's just done. He did get a contract, okay? And we see him in this offense that number one loves to pass the ball, okay? They love to target their running backs. They do it at a very, very high percentage. And they lost weapons. There's a huge target void in this offense. So although he's not someone that I've targeted, I've liked other running backs. It's also been a running back that really when I've tried to get him on my squad, he's someone has already taken him. So he's kind of at the bottom of the tier, but still someone I'm willing to take. So I'm kind of eyeing him. And then the third pick is the third pick for me is a little tough. So do I want to get 2 running backs?
So you settled on Fournette is what you're saying?
Possibly. I think my third pick will kind of dictate my second pick to
That
some
makes
degree.
no sense, but okay.
It makes no sense at all.
It makes no sense
I know what
whatsoever.
that queue looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, you
That makes
gotta
no
think. You gotta think ahead. So I'm trying to think about what's gonna be there in rounds
3.
4 and 5. What's gonna be there in rounds 4 and 5? So me whoever I'm picking these with these 2 picks, I gotta decide. I gotta have a plan of action moving forward. So, I think I got the guy. Okay.
Suspense is killing everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I played around a lot in drafts, particularly the football guys. I shouldn't say play around; that's a lot of money. But I've experimented, okay, and have gone a number of different wide receivers. And I like these wide receivers. I just don't see these wide receivers as truly elite. I don't feel like I'm stealing a T. Higgins, drafting him at the 3-1. I don't feel like I'm stealing A.J. Brown, drafting him at the 3-1. Because these are plenty of guys that I've gotten, almost damn near in the 4th round as well. Yeah. So it kind of goes back to my C-Mac pick. With these picks, I want upside. Who's going to be able to get me the most points? Okay?
A.J. Brown.
Say what?
Go ahead.
A.J. Brown? Are you an A.J. Brown fan? I didn't know that.
I was an A.J. Brown truther last year. What are you talking about?
That was last year, though.
No, that don't change.
I know. You're a
It
talent.
don't
You're a
change.
talent over situation.
It don't change.
So
yeah.
look. I think I'm a couple of hours in. I know they're waiting for me to select this pick. The other question though was Nick Chubb. Before I select these 2 players,
Yeah.
Nick Chubb. I mean, sell me on Nick Chubb, okay? Because for me personally, it's hard for I'm not going to even go get into how much everybody loves Nick Chubb. Everybody thinks he's like a top 2, top 3 overall back, but just the splits, the amount of the snap percentage when everyone is healthy, him and Hunt are healthy, that 50, 55, 45, that's tough.
But
like
that's
for
the
me
thing.
to.
You don't think that Aaron Jones and Dillon won't have the same
But
split?
again, if he got that and the receiving work, automatic smash. I'd probably be drafting him in the 2nd round. But Hunt is getting the majority of those receptions, and Hunt is seeing a lot of red zone work. And Hunt is really good too. Hunt has so it makes it like really hard for me to like just pick him because I worry about on a week-to-week basis if they're both healthy, Hunt may be the one who gets the touchdowns. We already know he's getting the third down work and the receptions, and we know they want to kind of keep him healthy. We know they like this. Far majority of games last year, we saw the top running back, rarely ever get over 60% of the snaps, okay? So that to me worries me. But, I mean, I don't know. I've seen y'all take Nick Chubb, and it's not like I'm opposed to him at, certain aspects of the draft, but at the 3-1, it seems rich. Well, I don't know. What you think, Dale?
I love Chubb.
Okay.
I'm with you.
So everything I just said is like... But, I mean, is Hunt not talented? So what happens when you have two talented
I've never been
running
concerned
backs?
with Hunt. I think a lot of backup running backs are talented. So, it's not really a thing I'm never concerned about the backup.
Yeah.
And if a team wants to spell their starter, then cool. I feel like it makes the starter even more potent when they actually come back in the game. And we've seen Chubb have these second halves where he's just like trucking boys. It's like, man.
That's true.
60-yard touchdown all of a sudden,
true,
just running up the gap. So, for me, Chubb is more a bet on talent. He's had those instances where he doesn't get a big share of the touches, but he's still been valuable like his whole career. He's never really had a high percentage of the touches. We don't know what happens this year. What if the coaches actually do decide, hey.
Oh, we got breaking news. We got breaking news.
What?
We got breaking news. This is why y'all know I stay on Twitter.
What is it?
So Tom Brady has a new tight end, and we talked about this.
Yeah,
we talked about
Kyle
this.
Rudolph?
Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, no big surprise. So how much that changes moves the needle or not? I think it's significant.
I think it is too.
Because with to me like we knew somebody was coming in, but for me like the idea like.
What stopped the show? Breaking news.
Breaking news. I know, breaking news.
Kyle Rudolph.
No, but I think it's significant because what it does is like now you have a tight end who can block, who can see the field, like who may see the majority of the snaps. And if you're just a receiving tight end, like, and you're not on the field, like that limits your touches.
I feel like he's
I think that's good for everyone else. I like the Kyle Rudolph. I like the Kyle Rudolph addition for Mike Evans. I like it for Leonard Fournette.
I don't know. I think he's over
Russell
here.
Gage.
I don't know if he's gonna really bring much to the team at all. He didn't do much for the Giants last year.
They brought him in for blocking. I think he's still a good blocker. But that's the thing. We want him to block. That's why I think it's good for everybody else.
I gotta look into it a little bit deeper, but I really don't push the needle much at all.
Man,
All right, so
make these picks, man.
All right.
I'm high on Chubb.
Yeah.
So you're not worried about the receptions though?
No. He's never had receptions. Like we like Chubb now, and he's never had what you're saying he lacks.
I know he's never had receptions.
So because we never had it, and he still proved to have the type of value he has, it's almost like what you're saying is his floor. And he's been at the floor. If he did one, all of a sudden get receptions, like Derrick Henry last year, we used to always say Derrick Henry got no reception.
Derrick Henry didn't have a Kareem Hunt on his team.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the fact that the narrative was Derrick Henry didn't catch the ball. And
that narrative changed last year though. That was like a big thing.
And that's the point I'm making. But prior to the season, the narrative was he didn't catch the ball. Then the season happened, and he was actually catching the ball.
No, what I'm saying is like the narrative before the season was like he was going to catch more passes.
I don't remember him. All I'm saying is, as far as the issue with Henry was, he didn't catch the ball much. And that changed for him last year. Now I'm not betting that it's going to change for Chubb this year, but if it did change for Chubb, with that possibility,
That's a big
that
bet,
then
man.
increases. It's not a bet. I'm not betting at all.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is Chubb's value right now, I'm okay with knowing he doesn't get catches, but if he did get catches, it's like I'm actually stealing at that point. And where you're getting Chubb now where you're picking, I wouldn't pick Chubb at 301.
That's literally what I'm talking about.
No, you asked me why I like Chubb.
I don't mind picking Chubb at 301.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm not saying pick Chubb at 301.
I
would just tell you why I like Chubb this year.
I like Chubb,
As
too.
far as your 301, I just told you I think you should take a 301.
But look, I like Chubb too.
AJ Brown.
Look, I like
so
Chubb.
you're taking. All right.
I like Chubb too. Okay, I like Chubb too. But it's not about whether I like Chubb; it's where I like Chubb.
Oh, I didn't say take him at
Okay.
301.
Yeah.
So
I didn't
you
say
go
take anybody. I'm
Fournette.
waiting for you to say who you're picking.
So like you'd go Fournette and AJ
I don't
Brown.
even think I like Fournette.
Yeah, me
Oh,
either.
see, now y'all.
How do y'all feel
I
about
just
the
want to hear who
report
he's gonna
about his
take. Like
weight?
the suspense is killing me. Like who is it going to be?
Does the report about his weight change anything, or you like
Not
nah,
really,
Like
no.
once
No,
he gets
but
Not at
remember,
all. Not at
when we
all.
talked about Fournette a few weeks ago, the thing that's concerned me about Fournette this whole time was the fact that they brought in the rookie.
Yeah.
I think the rookie, like-
Remember, I told y'all the rookie. His big attribute coming to the draft was he was one of the best pass catching running backs in the draft, and they picked this guy in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And they talked about wanting to use him. And then remember I was saying he had that dog in him. He made that comment like, I'm not coming here to be a backup. I'm coming here to start.
Yeah.
With Fournette in the fold, having that new
They
contract.
talked Vaughn. They talked Rojo. I'm honestly not worried about a rookie. Not with this particular Bucs team where Brady is coming back to try and win a championship.
That's fine. So who you taking?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm trying to figure
because
out.
Kamara is also still on the board too, right?
He's not going to take Kamara here.
I wouldn't take Kamara here.
Nah.
Why not?
I don't think he would.
All right, so with the 212.
Bro, you were not about to
Make the bid.
All right, so I'm gonna
So
take
who you
Fournette.
take?
I'm gonna
Okay,
take
Fournette.
Fournette. Okay, just because the receptions I can't pass up. I think with Brady trusts him. Okay, I doubt. I doubt a rookie is. I doubt Brady is going to like a rookie coming in.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say this.
Oh,
I didn't like Fournette, but honestly, I said the incorrect thing. At the type of value he's getting for Fournette now,
212.
I would take Fournette.
It's like literally my first
I
year.
haven't
but
seen him go in the 3rd round at all.
Yeah, I should
And
just take him.
You should take him in 301.
301.
You should take him in 301 because that'd be the first I ever seen him go in the 3rd.
You know what? I am gonna take him in the 301.
Okay, so now the question is,
just to mess up fantasy
who
mojo's.
are you taking? Who you taking in 212? That's really where I'm curious.
Better take Alvin Kamara. Who you taking?
Kamara? You're not taking Kamara. Why you press the button and my phone went off?
I was like, what? Who you taking?
Man, what's
Bro,
wrong with your
the
internet?
people at home can't-
I clicked it. I'm waiting on the internet.
They can't see what you're clicking. You gotta tell the people on the.
Who you taking?
Man, see, look, man, your internet.
No, man, I'm laying the internet.
The internet here. Look, the
Bro, you
clock
could
stopped.
tell us who you're taking though.
You got to get off that Boost Mobile.
That cricket,
The cricket.
that cricket wireless.
That's my burner.
Is
phone.
Boost Mobile still around?
I don't know, bro. You gonna
I
tell us
haven't
who you're
seen
taking,
any
Abby?
episode. I mean,
Man,
making any commercials.
Look, bro, I'm trying to
just tell us who you're
You
taking.
can tell it like it has
can
no
make
bearing on you
money.
clicking the
Yeah.
button
Nah,
on your phone.
somebody might be listening in.
What? They
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
jump you. What are you talking about? You got the next 2 picks.
Okay.
Who you taking? All right, there you go.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that he chose the right because it froze. I wanted to make sure he didn't choose somebody random.
All right.
Alvin Kamara.
All right,
Okay.
good. Good.
Yeah, I took Alvin Kamara. I think again, this there's
So we're
certain.
going 3 running backs. That's what you're really saying.
I'm going 3 running backs. I'm going 3 running backs.
The Jeff Z
I'm going 3
starter
running
pack.
backs. Well, I don't know about Jeff Z, but I'm going 3 running backs to
Jeff
start.
Z starter pack.
So Alvin Kamara, like there's been some talk about, and we discussed this months ago about, his hearing may get pushed back and it may get pushed to after the season. So there's a chance that he may not get suspended. There's also a chance he may miss 6 games or possibly even more. It comes down to risk tolerance. And for me, I'm willing to take the risk. When I feel like I can get a value, because essentially what I'm doing at this pick is thinking to myself, which one of these guys can give me potential first round value? And it's that simple. This isn't a situation where he's coming off an injury or anything like that. This is a situation where we literally just don't know. We don't know. And I'm not getting a complete zero at that position anyway. So if I have to fight back from that position, then I can fight back. I can draft with that understanding, knowing that, okay, maybe he misses the 6 games and I can kind of, make certain, picks to pick a player who may be able to slot in, 6.
And the good thing about
So-
drafting suspended players is because they start the season with the suspension, you don't have to worry about bye weeks.
Exactly.
So you have people that actually can't fill in instead of in the middle of the season where you got bye weeks and injuries. You're just like,
Yeah. And the
dang,
big
I'm
thing
stuck.
the big thing too is they come in fresh. They come in healthy.
Yeah.
So, we'll
still shocked
we'll
you
see
did
what
it,
happens. Yeah.
I'm shocked you did it, but hey, get your guy.
Yeah.
Get your guy.
And now you're doing Fournette, or you second guessing?
I'm doing Fournette. I can't necessarily say this is the get your guy, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the value.
Okay.
So we started off
So we
3
started
running
with the
backs.
3
3
running
running
backs.
backs.
All right. So you went C-Mac, you went Alvin Kamara, and then you went Leonard Fournette.
Rolling the dice. This is what you gotta do in a large field tournament. You roll dices.
But let's rewind it back a bit.
Yeah.
Is this I don't want to talk about how many shares of C-Mac you have, but if injuries was not a serious concern, would C-Mac easily be the smash button?
I have 0 shares of
pick?
Jonathan Taylor. And we literally had a show talking about how we should diversify, and if you get that number 1 pick, you just got to take him just so you can get diverse. And I couldn't do it. You know why? Because in a previous main that I was in, I was on the clock. I was somewhere maybe pick 6 or 7. And I was thinking to myself, like, automatically Dalvin Cook, and I was like, you know what? I'll do, a few more mains. I'll probably be able to get Dalvin Cook a little bit later. Let me wait, And so I chose Eckler. Mm-hmm. Okay, all the big five wide receivers, or not big five, the big three wide receivers were already off the board. Mm-hmm. Obviously, C-Mac and JT were off the board, and I think even Kelsey was off the board at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I chose Eckler, and then like immediately I was upset. I regretted it. I felt like a fraud. I've talked up Dalvin Cook on this pod, and for me, like, not to choose Dalvin Cook as much as I liked him, it hurt me. Like, it hurt me. Okay, and we played this game for fun. Yeah, I played to win. I played to win for sure. But like, part of me winning is like having conviction in in my players, in my picks, in my thought process, and trusting the process. So I felt like a fraud. So I was like, you know what? I need to just get my guy. I need to like trust myself. If it don't work out, it don't work out. But I'll feel better than if I choose someone who I didn't want to choose and it doesn't work out. So I think, I may not have a JT share. And I'm not fading JT. Like if C-Mac, if I had the number 2 pick and C-Mac went number 1, I'm click lock button JT. Yeah. But for me, C-Mac, it's a confident, like, overall number 1 in these large field tournaments. It's not even a question for me.
All right, Dario, injuries were not a concern.
Injuries are never a concern with me anytime in drafting. Like, I don't proceed with the concern of a guy getting hurt, because if I think the guy is going to get hurt, he's probably not even going to be on my board.
But you have to consider past injuries when...
I don't.
At all?
No, I don't.
Come on, that's
unless they're coming off a major injury.
You know who you're talking to?
Yeah, come on. You act like you don't know me. Come on, man.
Like he's surprised by that answer.
I know. Unless they're coming off a major injury and they're literally working their way back to hopefully being ready for the season. When I hear stuff like that, no, I'm not even going to touch it. Yeah. But if a guy has been hurt in the past and he's back now, running, practicing, I'm not concerned with injuries at all.
So last season, someone tears an ACL and they're coming back. You don't care at all that they tore.
No, that's what I'm saying. A player like that is probably working their way back. There's nobody that tore the ACL last year that's back right now. Yeah. There's not one player.
I mean, all right. So you don't care at all.
Not for just general. Like, I don't care about a guy's injury history.
I don't get
like
it.
This.
You will draft Eckler, but then won't touch C-Mac. Will you draft Derrick Henry?
I don't have any Eckler.
You will draft ETN. ETN literally broke his foot. He's a running back. He runs on his foot.
But not with the number 1 pick.
His foot.
The number 1 pick to me is that valuable. Right?
I mean,
so
they all
you like
the
to play
number
safe
1,
with
number 2, number 3.
Yes, like I look at it like a real
like you don't want to
NFL
miss
draft. Like you typically don't want to miss on the number 1.
No,
pick.
that's not always the case. That's not always the case.
I'm not worried about this. I'm worried about him.
Everybody has their philosophies to it. Yeah. Somebody can want a can't miss player, and somebody can want a player that like the highest potential type player that can be a superstar. And not to change sports, but actually to change sports, but like the NBA. Yeah. Remember the year LeBron's draft? The Pistons had the number 2 pick. Yeah. Easily they could have took Carmelo Anthony. They could have took Carmelo Anthony, who was somebody they saw just take their team to the championship in college.
On D-Wade.
But they were like, we want to take this unicorn.
Yeah. And they regretted it.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. Everybody has their philosophies.
And this is the thing. Again, we're in a large field tournament. So at what point, like, let me ask you personally, at what point, like, if you're thinking, okay, this number 1 pick, I want to be safe, at what point in the draft do you pivot from that and, like, okay, I want to go upside? Because I feel like if you're playing with
during the middle of the draft.
But I feel like if you're playing with that mentality, at no point are you ever, like, thinking to yourself, okay, like, I'm going for upside. And it's not just with the player. It's not just with the player, but it's also with the build. Like, you may have, like, drafted, like, no running backs. But then, like, there's this just, like, wide receiver that you love that just slipped to you. And then in your mind, you're like, you know what? I need a running back here. Let me go draft a running back. Or, like, you see a tight end run going. But there's players on the board that you love, but you're like, I got to get this tight end. Like, at what point, like, do you feel like that philosophy, continues with you throughout the draft? Because that's why I, like, from, like, the first round, I automatically start with the idea that, like, I am in it to win this whole month, like the entire thing. I'm in it to win the entire thing.
I think format and field size matters a lot with this, because what Abby's playing right now is a large field tournament, thousands of players. So playing a guy that gives you a safe floor, you might be in the running, but that guy's probably not going to get you at the top of the hill. while he's trying to take the biggest of swings, he's at the play every time trying to crack home runs because he wants to end up at the end of the year.
Man. You see this thing.
He wants to end up at the end of the year being
I started to post that.
Open thing.
Yeah, he wants to end up at the very top of the hill. And for him, if everybody stays healthy and everybody plays their full 17, for him, C-Mac is the guy that will put him at the top of the hill.
See, like, I don't see it that way. I see it as the people who really put you over the top are not the guys in those first 4 to 5 rounds. It's really those middle rounds, and that's where I'm trying to target upside. Like the thing is, now I am not diversifying as much as I did before in those top rounds because I want those guys to be safe. I'm really trying to diversify in those middle rounds because that's where you typically find,
everybody has their philosophy.
Yeah.
That's what makes you comfortable, and that's how you like to build your teams. That's fine. See, I'm never going to tell a person the way they build their teams or draft that's wrong because every strategy can work if you pick the right guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say what you're doing. If you ended up, like last year, if you ended up hitting on your Cups and your Debos in those middle rounds, it worked for you. You know what I'm saying? But if you ended up picking a Chenault and a Curtis Samuel type players, my guys last year, it sucked. So, every strategy can work, and if that's what you feel comfortable with, that's cool. But I will say this, if you're a, what's the word where you do a lot of drafts?
Volume draft.
If you're a volume drafter, I would recommend switching it up. Because if your strategy that you do, if you do it for every single draft, and then the strategy is just not the strategy that works this year, you're literally taking the L across the board.
What do you consider a volume drafter? How many
for these
drafts
tournaments?
do you have to,
I think if you're doing at least 15, you're a volume drafter.
Yeah.
At least
I would
15.
agree.
Yeah.
That's a lot of drafts.
Yeah. There's people that do much more
I'm
than
not
that,
a volume.
bro.
Well,
You don't need to be a volume drafter. The winner last year wasn't a volume drafter.
Yeah,
so
you don't have to be a volume draft. I'm
Yeah.
just saying for volume because if you do 15, that means you've literally seen the board in so many different variations
Take
that
one
you're
bullet.
comfortable with. You could probably even draft without really having rankings out. Or, I don't draft with rankings or anything. Like, I can get in a draft right now and I can kind of have a feel of how the board falls. Well, if you're only doing 5, you're probably still trying to make sure the ADPs are right, trying to look at your own rankings, probably looking at. By the way, when you mentioned that thing earlier as far as us following analysts, I don't follow not one analyst.
They don't know anything about that, but let's talk about
that
that.
wasn't. I wasn't recording.
Let's talk about it now. Though. All right. So
I'm sorry. I just had to put that out there because I was slightly offended over here.
No, that's fine. That's fine. This episode is sponsored by Fulltime Fantasy World Championships, fulltimefantasy.com. Guys, please check the links below. Right now, we're drafting in the Fulltime Fantasy World Championship draft. Feel free to click that link, join the draft. They have tons of tournaments to get into. Get off those ESPN drafts. Get into a real men's league. Full-Time Fantasy World Championship. Follow the link below. Trust me, you won't be sorry. All right, so Madden put out their rankings this week, and I want to go through those a bit because I know that for some reason both of y'all are millennials, and I don't know if you consider yourself millennials, but
We're
the fact that
you.
neither one of y'all play Madden is like beyond
I played
me.
Madden.
I play Madden. I used
thought
to
I'm
play
an
that
adult
game.
now.
I'm an
Play
adult. I'm an adult.
Yeah,
I grew up.
I got a job. Yeah, I got a mortgage. What are you talking about? Come on, yeah.
Responsibilities.
I got kids. Like, come on, man.
No, so Madden put out their rankings this week. I think they're significant because it's making me kind of rethink and just like if anything, I'm just gonna go back and say, hey, like I didn't really have this person there. Am I missing something? So I want to go over running backs for a second. They got Derrick Henry as their number 1 pick, and you're laughing now.
Oh,
but
so I just think it's funny we
has
actually
his-
put in value on Madden ratings.
It is because the players put value on it. Like they wait on it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, they do, but 5-10 years ago they didn't. Like,
They did,
and
though.
I'm
They
from
did.
that school. I'm from the school where Madden's been around since I was in middle school.
Right,
Madden's
right.
not new.
Right.
I know, for
And
real.
they
Like,
always-
if you came and saw me like in high school,
Yeah,
like, you couldn't
we
touch
were
me in
on that Madden.
Nah, man,
You
y'all
wouldn't
need
be
to
able to
get back
touch me
on
in
that.
I
Madden.
was Dante Culpepper,
You know-
Randy Moss had this one play. Nobody could stop me,
You
bro.
wouldn't be able to touch me in Madden.
Just
like,
throwing the fly.
No, just go. Just go and just throw it deep.
Exactly.
So ratings have always been there.
Yeah.
I think players being concerned about their specific ratings is a new phenomenon. And
Because
I'm
that
not
has
knocking
been
it.
more accurate. That's
Maybe.
why.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen the
I would need to see.
research
I
on
would.
it.
I would need to see data.
Yeah, I
'Cause
haven't
we
seen
had
the data on it.
because
so.
we had the same discussion about like Vegas odds. Like Dorsey, put in the group chat. Vegas
Shout out
odds.
Dorsey.
Yeah, shout
Yeah,
out
they
to
put
Dorsey.
put in the group chat Vegas odds for wide receiver to lead the league in receptions or yardage. Same thing for running backs, etc. And I think it's definitely something worth looking at, but like I always go back to the question, like how accurate is this? Mm-hmm. And nothing that we do is ever just the gospel, or nothing that we ever do is the only thing that we look at. You know, it's like a small piece of the puzzle to kind of try and bring everything together, or maybe put you onto some player that you haven't like really thought about. But I think it would be like interesting to see how accurate has Vegas been. Because I did a quick Google search in terms of like who they had, as far as their, offensive player of the year based off of last year. And it was a lot of names that, some of it granted were due to injuries, but some of it were just like names that like, to me, shouldn't have been on that list. So, how much we put stock into like these Vegas odds, and these Madden rankings preseason, because so much changes in season.
Right.
I think once you get a couple of games, it's a little bit more an easier read. But now, I don't know.
So here's the thing: neither one of you guys do a rankings. We don't do a rankings show. We don't.
I have rankings. They're just mental. I have rankings.
We don't care about Madden ratings.
All right. But I want to go through this list. I want you to tell me who should and should not be on this list.
Okay.
And if you should move
Who
people
shouldn't be on the list, or how they're. I mean, here's
What's
the
the
thing.
list, top 10?
Here's the
Yeah,
thing.
top
real
10,
quick,
top
real
10.
quick. Because I've played Madden, so I know how they. I mean, I've seen ratings. One thing you have to consider with ratings is they have ratings for every attribute.
Yeah.
It's not like they just say this player something overall
This
and that's
is the
it.
overall rating. Yeah.
There's going to be a player. Okay, say a player that's dominant, like say somebody like James Robinson, who's a great inside runner, but it's probably not fast. He compared to another player that's super fast, like a Chris Johnson type player, that might skew the Chris Johnson guy's ratings more, even though somebody like a James Robinson is more productive.
But if the overall ratings, I think it's taken into everything into account.
Right, they take all of that stuff into account. But what I'm saying is, if a player has an attribute that's so much far superior than other players, even though their output is not the same, it skews their rating. So when I look at
Madden now accounts for that. So like when so for instance, if you have like a Chris Johnson who has a 99 speed, he's not just gonna beat you to the corner every single time.
No, I'm not talking about beating
so
to the corner. I'm talking about how it affects his overall ratings. Like if it's all his attributes are one way, say it's all a constant, and his speed is 85, he's gonna have one overall rating. Take that same player, all the attributes be constant, and you take that speed and put it at 99, that's going to skew his overall rating higher. And all it was is a change in speed.
I'm so confused. Yeah. Are we the only two people that don't play Madden? Hey,
y'all
listeners,
are the only two
viewers, the 2 or 3 of you out there, if you play Madden, please like drop. Let me know. I need to know that I'm not alone in this.
I don't care, but if you want to talk about the ratings,
go over the ratings.
So for you, Chris, because what it sounds like, what I'm gathering is you almost use the Madden ratings as your rankings, or it could be substituted to some extent as far as rankings for you. Is that what you're saying?
That's like an analyst rating for you, or an analyst ranking for you, basically.
No. What I'm saying is, I look at their rankings, and if there is some outlier, I go and I rethink if I'm overlooking something.
Okay, I'm open to it.
That's
okay, go ahead.
Maybe the Madden algorithm is like the missing piece. Hey, we looking for every little bit of edge.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hashtag stay ready. We may be the first ones incorporating.
So who's the outlier? Who should we be looking at?
Our fancy production.
So let's go through the running right quick. Derrick Henry is their number 1 running back. Nick Chubb, C-Mac, Jonathan.
Nick Chubb is number 2?
Nick Chubb is number 2.
Wow.
C-Mac is number 3.
C-Mac is number 3? So we haven't even gotten to JT yet.
JT is number 4.
Okay, so C-Mac was number what?
I got you, number 3.
Okay.
What was Chubb again?
And everybody's going crazy
what was
over
Chubb
C-Mac.
again?
Chubb is number 2.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Okay.
Dalvin Cook is number 5.
I like these Madden ratings.
Joe Mixon, number 6.
I got no qualms and no issues this far.
Alvin Kamara is number 7.
Okay.
Aaron Jones is number 8.
Okay.
You know what?
Yeah, hey, Madden, I might buy your game.
Austin Eckler, number 9.
Yeah.
And the most controversial, or the second most controversial, Zeke is number 2.
I have no issues with any of those rankings. I agree 100%. 100%.
Yeah, so
100% with those rankings.
Is there anyone
Not
else?
the rankings themselves, but like the top 10.
Wait, can I ask you, where was Fournette?
He wasn't on the
Fournette
list. He
is
don't
not
belong
the
on that
top 10.
list.
He's not in the top 10 right now.
Interesting.
So
because the value of Fournette for me, sorry to go back to that again, is just receptions. It's just receptions.
Okay.
That's basically it.
So like a lot of people were surprised that Najee Harris was not in his top 10.
I forgot about Harris. He wasn't there either.
Do you guys like Najee is going in a? Well, I think I think in your draft, he went in the first round.
Najee's a volume back, but overall, as far as attributes, as far as like speed, power, vision, like he's like kind of a jack of all trades. So no, I don't think he belongs on those lists. Like if I was starting a team and if I'm going based off of like Deo philosophy, disregard situation and pretty much focus mostly on talent, I'm going with all these guys over Najee because I think all these guys, even at their current state, are all more talented than Najee, including Zeke.
Was Dave Montgomery on that list?
And Montgomery is someone who people brought up as well.
He's not on the list?
He's not on the list.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you put him in the top 10 though? Like I wouldn't put him in the top 10.
I don't even know how to answer this question.
Who would you put in your top 10 running backs?
Would you change any of the top 10 on this list?
Hell yeah, change all of it.
Not the rankings, but like your overall top.
Overall,
10, yeah.
Not
Who would you take
about
out
rankings.
of the
We're
top
just saying.
10?
Probably take out Zeke at the moment.
And put in who?
Probably leave it open.
But see, that you can't
Like a check, like leave that lane open. They didn't qualify.
No.
They didn't qualify for the
Put in
podcast.
somebody there.
No, you know what? I would put Najee over Zeke.
Okay.
I would put Najee over Zeke. Yeah, because I do think he's pretty skillful, especially he didn't have much of an offensive line last year. Yeah, he got a lot of volume, but with the volume, he didn't look bad. Like he looked fairly okay.
First 3 games of the season, Zeke looked better than probably half the people on that list.
Maybe, but Zeke
before
also
PCL
broke down, and it could be
he tore his PCL.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
maybe.
not breaking down. That's like a playing through injury.
Yeah, possibly. I'm just saying for what I've seen, and it is what it is. He played, and when he played, he just didn't look as good to me as Najee.
Okay.
No Swift either, by the way.
Okay, that's actually the guy I would put.
Swift can't. Hold on. Sorry. I'm going to have some shares of Swift. But there's a couple things with Swift. I think we all are aware that he's not the greatest in between the tackles runner, which is why they got Jamal Williams, which is why they kind of compliment with him with that. He's got great breakaway speed. He's got, sick-witted athleticism, and he can obviously catch the ball. My word. So I was like in love with Swift last year. Like third round, it was an automatic lock pick. Regardless of like all that talk about Jamal Williams, 1A, 1B, I was 100% Swift the entire time. And we broke it down. I said, in the fourth quarter, this team is going to be down, and he's going to see a lot of fourth quarter receptions.
Yeah.
Like literally said that on the pod. And if you go back and look at his receptions, they mostly occur in garbage time. Now you have a team, and we talked about the lack of receiving weapons, Goff coming in. It's like, the offensive coach who incorporates his back into the passing game. You have a new offensive coordinator. You have TJ Hawkinson, who I think is like, someone who could like threaten for like top 2, top 3. You have Amon-Ra coming into his second year, who I'm warming up to. You have DJ Chark, who I think a lot of people are potentially sleeping on.
They are.
I'm not going to include Jamison Williams because I don't know when he's going to be healthy. But now you have pass targets, and you have a defense that's getting better, and you have a great or really good O-line.
You're not high on Swift anymore. Is that what you're
It's
saying?
not that I'm not high on him. Like I think the avenue for Swift to like becoming a number 1 back is he takes advantage of that elite offensive line, and so he's better in between tackles, and he may get there. But we haven't seen it yet. We also haven't seen them just being willing to just give him like, a full running back workload. But I really worry about the amount of targets that he got last year. Because I don't think the offense was like this. The offense that we saw in the second half of the year was one that was like dedicated, where that running back was like the first read, or where Goff felt like he had to dump it down. I felt like Goff now found like a security blanket in a slot wide receiver. Hawkinson will likely be, is obviously coming to the season healthy, and then you also have a DJ Chark, a veteran receiver, and you have Reynolds. That was the other guy that I was, thinking about as well. So, I think, based off his,
but we're talking about Madden ratings, right?
That's what I'm saying. So based off of like being a running back outside of athleticism, he's not like a great in between the tackles runner. He's actually like great PFF.
But we're
rated
talking
like
about
extremely
Madden
low.
ratings.
Yeah,
I would have him as my 10th.
Why? Because he's
I
fast.
feel like he has all. I feel like he's fast. He can catch the ball. He's strong. I think he's elusive. I think he has all the attributes.
Would you take DeAndre Swift over Antonio Gibson?
For Madden rating, come on, we're waffling. Like,
Just as
are we
like-
talking about drafting or actually for both? Yeah, I would. For both, yeah.
For both?
Yeah.
So you think he's a better running back?
Yeah, I do.
All right. I want to move to
The thing
receivers.
with Gibson is Gibson still For me, I feel like he's still trying to learn how to play the running back position right. Remember, he was a wide receiver in college. He's only
So was
playing
Swift.
running back. No, Swift was a running back.
I know he was a running back, but you go look at him running in between.
I think they're the
tackles.
same guy.
But what I'm saying is, Swift was the starting running back in college. Gibson was the wide receiver in college. Like, it wasn't like he was like just a pass catching back. He actually was a wide receiver. The running back actually in college for them was Kenneth Gainwell and somebody. Kenneth Gainwell was the starting running back in Memphis. Crazy. And I'm coming around on Kenneth Gainwell. I'm not drafting him.
Henderson and T. Pollard and all them guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tony Pollard. Well, Tony Pollard, I think, is a year older than him. But anyways, as far as for my 10th guy, I would remove Zeke and put Swift in.
Okay.
Instead of and then Najee would be 11, and then Zeke would be 12.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's close. This is pretty accurate.
As far as Madden ratings,
Now this is where things get crazy, because I want to go to receivers for a second.
Okay.
Top 10 receivers: Devontae Adams,
Okay.
Cooper Kupp,
Okay.
Stephon Diggs,
Okay.
McLaurin, D Hop,
McLaurin,
McLaurin,
number 4.
number 4.
We're not gonna rank them though. We just
No, but I'm saying
just
Madden
top 10.
hasn't ranked
Yeah,
number,
We're number
4.
4. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
D Hop, number 5. Hunter Renfrow at number 6.
What?
Yes. Tyler Boyd, number 7.
that I have issues with.
No T.
What?
Higgins, no Jamar Chase. Amari Cooper, number 8. Tyler Lockett, and no DK Metcalf at number 9. And then number 10 is Justin Jefferson. Number 10 is Justin Jefferson.
This right here just killed all your value in the Madden. There's,
I mean, like,
I can't. I don't even know what to say about that.
I mean,
all of that is off.
I will say this about Renfro. Okay. If you remove blocking and kind of really focus in on route running, I mean, you can kind of squint and see why they put him there based off of what he did last year.
There is no way that you put Hunter Renfrow over Jamar Chase. There's no argument to make Hunter Renfrow.
But Jamar Chase was a rookie last year.
Yeah, but I mean,
So
So he was a rookie last year.
it don't matter. I mean, that whole list is flawed.
It's like you. It's
Yeah,
like you
like,
mentioned.
this
Like
is-
the whole
you,
list is
you
flawed.
mentioned DK
Yeah.
not being on there. I could see DK not being on there because like
I can see DK
he's a
not
limited, wide
Yeah.
receiver. He's like obviously he's like a bully on the field. He's got like sick athleticism, but like he's limited as far as route running.
You know who
and
else
certain
isn't
things
on
he
that
can do.
list? CD
Who?
Lamb.
oh yeah, CD isn't on there either.
I could see CeeDee Lamb not being on that list. I could see him not being.
I mean, the whole
deserving
list.
of,
Whole list is trash to me. I like.
all right.
But these aren't fancy football rankings. These are NFL
Madden-
football rankings.
These are Madden ratings.
I know.
Yeah,
These are
these
ratings
are
based off of
NFL,
just like
like,
real.
real-
individuals.
Even
yeah.
so, I would
okay,
have
so
CD
look.
Lamb over. I would have CD Lamb over Hunter Renfrow.
So you say
Over-
that-
First of all,
But you say
Boyd
that.
probably shouldn't even be in the top 20.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, and that one I agree with you.
Yeah.
But you say that, but Hunter Renfrow produced when asked.
That's fine.
He produced when asked. He
That's
produced
fine.
when he was the only one
but
and when people
are
knew
Madden
it.
ratings production or are Madden ratings how they rate the player?
But
How
I'm
they
saying
rate the
how
player.
you
Okay.
rate the player is subjective. You may feel like CeeDee Lamb's a better player, but when
But
put
that's
in the
what
same
rate- that's what
position-
ratings are.
But when put in the same position, he didn't produce like Hunter Renfrow.
But that's what ratings are. Ratings are a subjective evaluation of a player's skill
But
set.
maybe their subjective evaluation
It's
is
off.
accurate.
And it's off.
I mean, I don't know.
And it's
I don't
fine.
know.
They
I
could
don't
be
know.
wrong.
I don't
You know,
know.
they could be
I don't know. I
wrong.
think
How
there's
about
something.
this?
I think
They
there
still
is
get
something to it.
I mean,
don't know.
the whole list is flawed. I mean, Justin Jefferson is like that's totally disrespectful.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
he
And
should be
Jamar
alive.
Chase, honestly, just throw the whole list away.
It is. But listen, every single season we see a Super Bowl happens and some player sits on the field and watch the other team celebrates and says next year that's
It's only
gonna be
happened like
me."
the last 2 years, man.
No, it's
And it's
every
really the
single
same
season.
players. Stephon Diggs, like
No, it's every single
It's
season.
really just-
there
I
are
feel
some
bad for
players.
Diggs.
Yeah. There's every single season there's some player who stays on the field and watch the other team. In basketball, we see it. We talk about bulletin board material. Jamar Chase is left off this list. I personally don't believe in bulletin board
question's
material
funny to
either.
me, but-
No. I'm saying I don't. But Jamar Chase is like, all right, like, but y'all want to leave me off the list? All right, like he responded to it. Do you think that that's going to have an effect on if you believe in bulletin board material, which I don't? But if you do you believe that hey, like this is added motivation for a player? Like
I believe
Jamar
a
Chase?
dog is a dog. I mean,
Yeah,
you hear
a dog
stories
is a
about
dog.
Michael Jordan, like he would literally just like
You can make
up
something up,
stories.
yeah.
Yeah,
He
that's
would
not-
literally
yeah.
make up stories to
Yeah.
like get pissed off about. Like they were literally.
you could put a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah,
You could put a
like-
chip on your shoulder for not being the first wide receiver drafted. CeeDee Lamb
Yeah.
can still be
Be like,
mad.
You gonna eat
that-
my last chip? You ate my last chip. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
They-
So I don't think none of that stuff matters. he's gonna do the same thing he's gonna do anyways. He just might say that's the reason that point, but he's still gonna work just as hard. It's not like he's gonna do one extra rep now because the Madden ratings were high enough. Like he's still gonna do what he does. So nah.
I don't know. What does it mean that like the Vegas Raiders have 2 receivers like that's ranked this high? Like, do you think that we should revisit Derek Carr in that offense, or
I literally have 0 shares of Derek Carr, and it's not that I'm necessarily against him. It's just that like he goes right after Dak Prescott, you know. So I feel like everybody's kind of on him as like that 12th or 13th QB, and to be quite honest, I don't see much of a difference between him and Cousins. And I think in a vacuum, I'd probably maybe would lean Kirk Cousins, as like nasty as that sounds. I really do, because I don't know what McDaniels is going to do from a balance standpoint. Like, I don't know how much they plan on passing. I don't know how many 3 wide receiver sets they plan on having. Like, I don't know if they want to have like a more balanced offense with the run game. You know, their defense is not, is one that I think is like struggling. Their offensive line their offensive line is like probably one of the worst in the league. So like, how much time is he really going to, like, there's a lot of question marks that I have with that team. And I wouldn't mind Carr if I could get him like where Cousins is, but like if I could just like wait 3 more rounds and then just get Kirk Cousins, then I'll do that.
by the way, the end of August, like right before the season starts, I'm going to simulate Madden and I'm going to draft a team based solely on the end of the year stats on that.
You like burning money, okay?
So I'm drafting a team solely on those stats. By the way, so
Good luck.
all right. And if that team wins it all, then I don't want to hear nothing.
Hey.
All right.
But I got a pretty good amount of time out of that topic. I know that it was agonizing for y'all because y'all don't really
That's
respect
fine.
Madden.
Do all the Madden you want, man.
But we got a pretty good amount of time out of that.
Me and Abby probably the only people that don't play Madden, so it's all good.
Right. Hey guys, if you haven't liked, rate, subscribe this episode, please hit that subscribe button right now. Please like this episode.
Yeah,
It means
follow
a
us
lot.
on Twitter, by the way.
Yes.
__Deo. If it's written right there, that's what I'm pointing at right now.
2 underscores.
Yeah,
two underscores. Who puts 2 underscores?
I couldn't find you for the longest.
I do. I try to stay incognito, just try to,
So I did a draft, like a mock draft on ESPN, because again, I don't want to waste any more money because I'm still trying to, scratch that itch without like drafting. So I'm doing these BS mock drafts on ESPN. But I drafted ETN and Penny. They have the same bye week. Do you guys care about bye weeks at all? Does it matter? Especially with bye weeks being like, I think their bye week was the 11th.
11.
Yeah.
No.
So like that late, like the whole landscape is going to be different at that point. And I'm pretty
I
sure.
just don't care about bye week because things change so much during the season. You might end up getting a waiver wire ad that
Yeah.
perfect fits
Outside
in
of
right
best ball,
there.
by the way.
Right.
Yeah,
So best ball totally different strategy, but
Yeah.
as far as in season bye, especially when you're talking about a late bye week, like what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
you have plenty of opportunity to fill that gap. You know? So I wouldn't be worried about it at all.
Also, like, what about strength of schedule? I know that we had an episode last season about.
Sorry, I
strength
will
of
say this
schedule.
one thing about the bye weeks. Best ball and large field tournament. I guess maybe more so the large field redraft tournaments. Some of those bye weeks are in the playoff weeks.
Week 14.
And there's
A
some
lot of
like
them.
and there's some like really really good
Including
players.
Jonathan Taylor.
There's some really really good players. So like I think I've kind of gotten to the point where like I just like don't even think about it even in that respect either. Like
Well,
I just,
for me, the goal, because with FFPC, if you end the season as the number 1 seed and even the number 2 seed, you get an automatic bid to the tournament regardless of how the playoffs play out. So I kind of, my whole mindset is try to end up with one of those top 2 seeds.
Yeah.
Then the playoffs don't even matter. Of course, obviously you reduce your opportunity of getting the league winning prize, which is what, $1,800 or $1,500, something like that. But again, that personally for me, that's not what I'm playing for. I'm trying to win the big tournament. So that's really how I focus on my goals.
And there's some advantage in terms of having your player the entire season if you don't get hurt.
Yeah,
So,
you never have to worry about getting them replaced.
Yeah.
They're always in your lineup.
Yeah, so let's talk about D-Hop for a second. It looks like he's trying to get a reduction in his suspension. Do you guys think that his ADP is going to rise, or do you think that it is where it is until there's some official news on it?
I think it'll just stay where it is. I don't necessarily know. I mean, I know that NFL Players Association report that came out and kind of clarified that there was no substance or no diuretic substance found, and that was inaccurately reported by the NFL. So, he's definitely, been very vocal and adamant about the fact that he didn't take anything intentionally, and that even what was found was like a very small, minute amount, the contamination, and that the months before and after, nothing was picked up. So, from what I've heard, the NFL, it doesn't matter. Like it's just like a strict policy. But I think he goes late enough to where, like, if you feel comfortable enough, you can like grab him. Like I think I grabbed him. I grabbed an 8th round share in the main event. I was like, I can't pass on him in 8th round. No. Like even if he's sitting on my bench for 6 weeks. So I think it's just kind of how everybody thinks about it. I think a lot of people are very, very high on Marquise Brown, and so I think some people, there's probably a good amount of the population is just thinking to themselves that like, oh, he's just going to be the number one, and even when Hopkins is coming back, he's an aging wide receiver. I think you kind of get into that narrative. Like if you like a player and then you want to like create an argument or a narrative, like you will like really drop somebody down. So that like if you're like on Marquise Brown, then your thought is, oh, he could just end up being the number one the entire year. And then even when D-Hop comes back, we saw him get injured last year. He maybe loses a step, or him and Marquise Brown and Kyler have already kind of connected, and D-Hop is going to get left out. Yeah. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, if D-Hop is healthy, like D-Hop going, he going to alpha his way to the number one spot over Marquise Brown. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, Dio, let's say that his suspension gets reduced to 2 games.
Don't ask me this question, man.
Where do you think he should go?
Don't ask me this question because I don't think anything that y'all are saying is relevant right now. I saw that when y'all posted the report in the group chat. I hadn't seen it yet, so y'all posting it was the first time I saw it. But I think it essentially said the NFL Network reported X, Y, and Z as far as the substance, and that's inaccurate, yada, yada, yada. I mean, the NFL Network is not the NFL.
But the NFLPA put it out, and that's significant.
No, the NFLPA put out that the NFL Network reported it incorrectly.
No, I thought the NFLPA put out that there wasn't a positive test per se.
No. The message said the NFLPA put the message out. They said that the NFL Network reported inaccurately that the substance was XYZ. And we're basically coming out and saying that's not the case. NFL Network reported wrong. And that's fine. What I'm saying is NFL Network is not the NFL. Yeah.
Right.
The NFL didn't do anything.
But the NFLPA is still significant that they would put out a statement. Why put out that statement?
Well, they're just putting out, that's just public perception. And like Abby was just saying, from what I've always heard about all of this, it's extremely strict. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, well, let's now reconsider because somebody said something this or that. Everything we know about the situation, NFL was aware of before it even got to our ears. They were most likely arguing all these cases once they first heard about the suspension. Oh, it still is what it is.
He also refused an appeal, or he didn't refuse to appeal, but I don't think he appealed. So I don't know. I
mean,
that seems to be different now, though. I mean, like there seems to be some type of mechanism.
I think you having any type of. I mean, we definitely, subscribe to the stay ready philosophy, but I think if you having any kind of hope hinging on potentially having his suspension reduced, I think that's.
I would liken it to the Kamara situation. Like, I just took Kamara at 3.
No, that's different. You know why it's different? Because D-Hop has been suspended.
But for me, it's not different because like I took him at 212. In my mind, he's suspended for 6 games.
Okay,
but there's a chance that it may not be.
Well, I look at it opposite because D-Hop has been suspended. Yeah. It's happened. The NFL has put down their ruling. He's gone. Kamara, nothing has happened. Yeah. But we're saying it might most likely will happen. So, it's almost like I like to look at things as face value. What is things looking at right now at this moment? I don't want to try to convince myself of something else because I can start to get into the weeds with things. So
wasn't that like a defensive player, like a defensive lineman who like claimed to have ate like some bad meat?
That's for the Texans.
Yeah, and then like he was suspended, and then like they came back and reduced that suspension.
That was Dwayne Brown.
Yeah,
when
he
went to Mexico.
He ate some bad meat in Mexico.
The Texans went to, but that was part of the thing. They reduced it. They reduced it. So that's part of the thing. He said that it was part of the NFL sanctioned trip, and he ate the food at the NFL, the area the NFL had them in, and so he almost kind of put the blame on the NFL a little bit. Like, hey. this is, and it was Fu. He actually
Yeah.
was able to prove that.
Yeah.
And what's the NFL going to do? Like, we don't
shoot,
believe
who knows?
that Mexico.
I don't know.
So
Yeah.
but
Why
this
was
is
he the
different.
only player though? Why was he the only player
That was
tested
Fu
positive?
though. That was totally different.
So he's
But
the
why
only
was he
person
the
who
only
ate
player
that
that?
piece
Yeah,
of
why
meat?
was he the only
because
player?
the NFL, it was an NFL Mexico game.
I know, but
I know,
why
but-
was he the only player who ate
That,
that
you
one
talking about
piece
they got
of
the
meat?
contaminated food?
Yeah.
I think he had an argument for that too. Like he covered all his bases. Like I think
Yeah.
he went
Nah,
out on
bro,
his
we gotta
own
look
to go
into
eat.
it.
I don't think it was like
I mean,
a team dinner or anything.
The
like
one
that.
thing to me that's interesting about this D Hop is how small, like, I mean, it was like barely over the limit, and the fact that like, I think the testing right before and right after were both negative.
That's
for
irrelevant
that
to
particular.
me, man.
It's not irrelevant from a standpoint of like
me, it's
that,
irrelevant.
like if he did take something, you wouldn't have a negative before and after the way that it
Again,
did.
to me, it's irrelevant because he's been suspended. Like that's it. Like the argument.
But Dwayne Brown was suspended, and he had an argument, and he went to the NFL, and he got reduced.
But again, that was totally different. He was able to justify it.
I know,
his
but what if
D Hop can justify it?
Yeah, what if he can
but
justify
what-
it?
how is D Hop going to justify it?
Because
That's
if you
why
look-
the NFL
because-
no.
coming
But the
out.
difference is Dwayne Brown can say he ate something that did this. What D Hop would say, he tested for a banned substance. He can't say
Barely,
I ate something.
what he can
or
do
anything
is
like that.
what he could do is he can get a medical professional and say, look, there's no way that he took these controlled substances and tested this small
There's no
and then
medical
didn't test.
professional going to be able to just say that, man. I think
Yes, you can. I mean, based on the substance, you can actually do
y'all,
that.
y'all
Yes,
acting
you
like
can.
D Hop has been the first one that's had any kind of situation like this.
I mean, to the level at which
Has
he
there
had
been
it,
any other suspension that's been reduced or changed that y'all can think of? Any other one?
they're not all the same though. Just like you mentioned the Dwayne
But what
Brown.
I'm saying, has there
The
been
Dwayne
any,
Brown?
any other one? Again, the Dwayne
Dwayne
Brown
Brown.
again was the NFL. That's a unique situation.
There
But
had to have
but
been
this is a
another.
unique
no,
situation.
literally, think about it. Has there been any other drug suspension, any other one in the whole NFL that y'all can think of that's been reduced?
I'm just gonna go to that Dwayne Brown one. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to use that, that's an extreme.
But again, we're not.
outlier,
I don't think it's gonna change much. I don't think it's gonna change much.
So the question you're asking me as far as the games, I can't. My mind won't go there to even. You can ask Abby that question because I think Abby's considering
already
it to
answered it,
potentially a reduction in the suspension. But I'm moving forward totally with D Hop.
Are you drafting him at all?
If the value, if it
Seventh
arises,
round, sixth round.
I mean, I don't know the rounds exactly.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
kind of how the way the build is
Yeah.
looking,
Okay.
and if
But you're willing to click the button even with the 6-game suspension.
because he's gonna come back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not hurt. I mean, he is going to play. He's going to be there for the playoffs. He's going to be
Okay.
there for the tournament.
All right.
So if value's there, value's there. I wouldn't mind taking him, but I'm not taking him with the mindset of maybe he's not suspended the full 6 games. For my mind, he's gone for 6 games.
Yeah.
All right.
Same.
All right.
Same.
All right, guys. That's the episode this week. That's all we got.
No more Madden talk.
No more Madden talk. Oh, next week we got another Madden topic.
Oh,
by the way, so. All right, guys. That's all that we have this week. Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.